You wake up and the first decision of the day is already staring at you. Do you hit snooze? Do you get up? Coffee first or shower? Shoes or slippers? It sounds trivial, but here's the catch. Every one of these small choices is a withdrawal from a mental bank account you didn't know you were spending from. That account? It's called decision energy. And by the time you notice it's empty, it's usually too late. You're already making worse decisions without realizing it. This is the quiet trick of decision fatigue. At its core, decision fatigue is your brain's way of cutting corners when it's tired. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for willpower, planning, and reasoning, works a lot like a battery. It can only output so much before it dims. When you've been forced to choose, adjust, or resist all day long, that battery doesn't just weaken, it rewires how you see your options. And that's when things get eerie. The brain doesn't shut down. It starts to cheat. Think about the last time you tried to eat healthy all day. You made the good choices. Oatmeal instead of donuts, salad instead of fries, water instead of soda. But then, at 11 p.m., you found yourself inhaling half a pack of cookies without thinking. That wasn't weakness. That wasn't lack of discipline. That was decision fatigue tilting the playing field, convincing your brain that the worst possible option, processed sugar before bed, was somehow the easiest, maybe even the only choice available. You didn't decide to give up. The decision was made for you, behind the curtain, by a brain too tired to care. Psychologists discovered this effect in a chilling study of parole judges. In the mornings, judges were far more likely to grant parole, leaning toward leniency and fair judgment. But as the day dragged on, and their decision reserves drained, the rulings shifted. By late afternoon, judges overwhelmingly denied parole, not because the cases were worse, but because no is the easiest option when your brain is exhausted. The same brain that once weighed evidence carefully now defaults to self-protection. I don't have the energy to think, so I'll just take the safe route. That's decision fatigue at its most sinister. It doesn't just make you lazy. It reshapes the outcome of your life. And here's the trick you rarely notice. Your brain doesn't wave a flag saying, "Hey, I'm tired, don't trust me right now." Instead, it feels normal. The thoughts still flow. The choices still appear. But behind the curtain, the quality of those choices is collapsing. You end up buying things you don't need online. You binge shows instead of going to bed. You fire off a text you regret the next morning. These aren't random slips. They're the predictable aftermath of a brain running on fumes. Let's pause on something uncomfortable. How many bad choices in your life were never really choices at all? How many were just the byproduct of a tired brain taking shortcuts? The fight with your partner because you didn't have patience. The late-night junk food. The credit card debt from impulse shopping. What if all of these had less to do with your character and more to do with the silent erosion of your mental battery? Throughout the day, that realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because you realize how fragile your decision-making really is. Liberating because you finally see the pattern. It's not you, it's your brain playing tricks when it's drained. So how exactly does decision fatigue trick you into the worst possible options? It uses 3 sleights of hand. First, default bias. When you're drained, your brain clings to whatever feels easiest. You don't weigh pros and cons anymore. You just hit autopilot. Sometimes that autopilot is say no to everything, like the judges. Other times it's say yes to the temptation in front of you. Either way, the path of least resistance rarely aligns with your long-term goals. Second, emotional amplification. A tired brain makes emotions louder and reasoning quieter. That's why late at night, the small worries feel catastrophic, and the small cravings feel unbearable. You're not just choosing poorly, you're experiencing the world through a distorted filter that makes the bad options glow brighter. Third, the illusion of control. This is the cruelest trick. You think you're in charge. You think, I just chose to scroll for 3 more hours. But really, your brain outsourced control to impulse. It handed the wheel to the most basic, short-term instinct, while convincing you that you're still steering. Now, imagine this playing out every single day of your life. You start with energy, optimism, control. By evening, you're a passenger in your own brain, drifting into decisions that don't reflect who you want to be. Multiply that by years, and decision fatigue isn't just a daily inconvenience. It's a slow erosion of your future. Let's look at your daily landscape. You wake up and choices immediately begin stacking. Emails, clothes, breakfast, commute, messages, tasks. Each, what should I do, slices a little more from your reserves. By mid-afternoon, you've made hundreds of micro-decisions. Should I respond now or later? Do I open this notification? Do I attend that meeting? Should I finish this task or start another? It's no wonder you feel drained before dinner. Your brain has been bled dry by 1,000 cuts of choice. And in that state, the world feels heavier. The easy way out becomes magnetic. You don't apply for the job, you don't start the workout, you don't cook the meal. Instead, you collapse into the worst possible option. Inaction, indulgence, avoidance. What makes this worse is the myth you've been fed your whole life. That discipline is infinite. That the most successful people simply try harder than you. But science says otherwise. Even the most disciplined minds, CEOs, presidents, judges, fall prey to decision fatigue. The difference is, many of them build structures around their lives to protect their limited decision energy. That's why Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck every day. Why Barack Obama limited his wardrobe to 2 colors of suits. They weren't eccentric. They were defending their brain from the silent tax of constant choice. Meanwhile, you're drowning in an endless menu of options, wondering why you can't keep up. Here's the haunting thought. If decision fatigue nudges you toward the worst option often enough, how much of your life is actually just the accumulation of poor decisions made by a tired brain pretending to be you? Your diet, your career path, your relationships, even the way you spend your nights, all shaped, not by clear-eyed planning, but by the silent fatigue of too many choices. And the worst part? You don't even notice when it's happening. So what does this mean for you right now, sitting here at 2 a.m. with your mind buzzing and heavy? It means the decisions you're making tonight, the promises to yourself, the regrets, the plans, might not be the most reliable. You're not broken, you're just depleted. And when you're depleted, your brain loves to trick you into believing that shortcuts, indulgences, or avoidance are all you're capable of. But that's a lie whispered by exhaustion. What you're experiencing isn't failure, it's physics. The brain obeys energy, not willpower. And decision fatigue is the invisible hand tilting the scales. Now the question becomes, if the worst options are what fatigue feeds you, how do you reclaim the ability to see the better ones? You don't solve decision fatigue by swearing you'll just try harder tomorrow. That's like promising to outrun gravity. The trick isn't more effort, it's fewer unnecessary choices. Start noticing where your brain leaks energy. Is it the endless scrolling through outfits in the morning? The dozens of tiny yes or no pings from your phone? The way you overthink lunch as if it were a moral dilemma? Every time you cut out one of these micro decisions, you're not just saving time, you're preserving mental clarity for the choices that actually matter. Here's where it gets even more unsettling. Modern life is engineered to drain you. Algorithms flood you with options. Shows to watch, songs to play, products to buy. Apps demand micro decisions in the form of likes, swipes, and clicks. Every notification is a tiny fork in the road, pulling energy whether you act on it or not. You're living in a casino of constant choice, and the house always wins. So when you wonder why you collapse into the worst possible option at the end of the day, it's not just you. The system is designed to leave you too tired to resist. But here's the quiet rebellion. You don't need to outthink your tired brain. You need to outdesign your environment. Lay out your clothes the night before. Automate your bills. Eat roughly the same breakfast. Put your phone in another room when you sleep. It sounds boring, maybe even robotic, but every boring routine is a shield against decision fatigue. Because the truth is, freedom doesn't come from having infinite choices. Freedom comes from having enough energy left to make the few choices that really shape your life. Think about it. When you're not drained, you don't binge the cookies, you don't doom scroll until sunrise. You don't say the words you regret in anger. When your mental battery is intact, you naturally gravitate toward better options. Which means the secret isn't becoming someone new. It's protecting the version of you that already knows what's best, before decision fatigue tricks you into choosing otherwise. So the next time you feel yourself sliding into autopilot, ask, is this really what I want? Or is this just fatigue making the choice for me? That single pause, that moment of awareness, can be the wedge between you and the worst option. Because the scary part of decision fatigue isn't that you're weak, it's that you're human. And the only way to stop being tricked by your own mind is to catch the trick as it happens. You started this video wondering how decision fatigue tricks your brain into choosing the worst possible options. The answer? It doesn't force you. It simply waits until you're too tired to notice. And then, quietly, it nudges you toward the path of least resistance. But the real trick is this: you're not powerless. You can change the script. And maybe that begins tonight with one decision. Just one, that you make fully awake. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next.